UnDaoDu. I'm UnDaoDu, coming to you from the heartland of Zen, near Eheiji, Japan. And I want to talk about this diagram, and I realized that there were some errors in it, and this is, I think, the most um, up-to-date version of it. And it's a simple diagram that expresses what we're doing with the forking of DeSo, which is what BitClout was built on. And I've got talks explaining how BitClout is a minimal viable product of FoundUps that I shared back in 2011 and 12 after basically sharing everything I had in my paradigm with the founders of Ethereum. And I put the video up saying this is non-derivative, 2.0 after sharing all my information because I knew they would take my work and develop it, right? And also I wanted to put it out there in the Creative Commons so other people could take my work and develop it. So what we're doing is we're actually adding a DAE, a distributive autonomous entities, which are kind of DAO. But they form what's known as a keiretsu, or I like to use the word beneficial keiretsu, because within the DAEs there is no competition. They're all working together for a greater good, for towards what I call social beneficial capitalism, which has nothing to do with socialism, just like social media has nothing to do with socialism. So in this image of theirs are two stacked DAEs, and this is one of the clues. I was like, not only do you have everything in my paradigm, but you also are using an image of my paradigm, even though I never created the keiretsu this way. I have another image of two magnets interacting with each other, which shows two DAEs, or two distributive DAOs working together, and I have a video on that. So what I did here was illustrate the the first DAE that leads to the second DAE, that leads to the third DAE, that leads to the fourth DAE. And I want you to think of this in regards to a startup. Think of this as the funding for this is the pre-seed stage. Funding from a DAE 2 is the seed. Funding from the DAE 3 is the seeded. So it's pre-seed, seed, seeded, and it goes on up. So as these DAEs beget more DAEs, the level of funding available to them grows exponentially. So the idea of doing kind of world-altering, world-changing events without the need of accredited investors, without the need of approval from governments, without the need from cronyism, right? Cronyism is what's crippling our ability to mend and repair our planet. And this is a highly scalable. These DAEs do not exist, in the real world. They exist on Web 3.0. They exist in the metaverse. You go to a headquarters of a DAE. There is no building. There is no entity for the DAE in this world, right? It will exist autonomously in Web 3.0 in the metaverse, right? So you'll be able to visit it there. And they ultimately pay out a form of what I call UBI dividend. That and as these days stack, right? Just as you have an idea, and I'll use an example of something called software that runs a PC. That IBM back in the day said, "There's no future for this thing called software, and we'll pay for the licensing." And in paying for the licensing, they created Microsoft. Now, Microsoft has literally thousands of startups under them. They bought LinkedIn, for example, for $24 billion, right? They're building a whole metaverse and stuff. They're spending billions of dollars into this. All of these are all part of Microsoft's ecosystem. Well, this is no different. The only difference is in the beneficial keiretsu ecosystem, there is no board of directors, there is no employees, there are none of these trappings of a 300-year-old paradigm of capitalism that came out of Florence, and everything is on a blockchain. Everything is immutable. Everything is driven by bounties. And more importantly, everything will be driven by Obey, which is Open Beneficial AI. And just to talk briefly on Obey, Obey doesn't isn't about you obeying it. It's about it obeying you. Obey, in a way, looks after your avatar. It becomes your executive assistant. It's protecting your data. It's deciding based on the parameters you have given it in a discussion with it how you feel about sharing your data and the reward for it. Uh, and if there's any doubt, Obey will come to you and say, "Hey, what do you think?" You won't know when you're interacting in the metaverse whether you're actually talking to the real person or Obey. You won't know. You just won't know. It will be seamless. And you'll have Obeys talking to other Obeys. And these bots and everything else, and they'll be doing business for you and everything else, and it'll just be this seamless thing. And you may be out on the beach. You may be out picking up garbage and earning, you know, native tokens from your actions. Because you see, DAEs operate on something called proof of benefit. And proof of benefit is like if you are benefiting society, if you're benefiting the world, if you're helping the planet, it's the living systems and sharing with others, then there's proof of benefit, then that's going to activate your reward. So I want you to imagine a world built on healing the planet, building permaculture homesteads, having farming, for example. You can have farming built on days where there are DIY autonomous zero marginal cost farming, and creating these blueprints on how to build these weed pickers that will just sit on the side of the town bowl and have a video on it. And ultimately the next robot is actually just plowing, and then there's one basically doing the harvesting. Something known as zero marginal cost. How does the farmer get paid? Well, the farmer who owns the land gets the free rice, gets the free product. That's what people want, and gets a percentage of the shares of the day because they are the creators, right? They own the rice field, so they're technically creators. The collaborators, the one out there moving the rice from here to there, moving it to stores, they get their dividend, right, out of the whole system. And the consumers, the one actually eating the rice from the day grocery stores, are getting a dividend. So I want you to imagine you're living life when you have a choice between shopping at a day or shopping at a corporation. You're going to go with the day because your days are going to be better. And as these entities stack, then the levels of funding for these days are exponential. So this is unstoppable, people. You have to understand that, this whole idea of capitalism is over, right? They have built the framework for this to happen, and there's absolutely nothing that can be done to stop it. And this is a good thing. It means us healing the planet. It means getting away from this competition. It means getting away from this dog-eat-dog environment. And it means ushering in the next paradigm of capitalism 3.0, or what I call social beneficial capitalism. I'm UnDaoDu, coming to you from the heartland of Zen, and I'm going to end this talk with a little chanting. I'm going to send you the do. I can't help it that I was prophesized to be here 5,250 years ago. I don't understand it, to be honest with you, but I am UnDaoDu. I am a sadhu, sharing with you a story of what things can be. But without your help, without your participation, this is just a dream. Oh.